rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And
on this episode of Code Blue in America, the breaking news segment, Attorney General Bondi clashes with Senator Durbin in fiery exchange over National Guard deployment. So here's what went down, folks. A Senate hearing that was supposed to be about transparency and accountability somehow turned into what sounded more like a Newsmax open mic night.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Madam Attorney General, let me ask you this question. Were you consulted by the White House before they deployed National Guard troops to cities in the United States?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House.
You won't even say whether you talked to the White House about this?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House with you, Ranking Member.
I noticed that. What's the secret? Why do you want to keep this secret? The American people don't know the rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
I've been on this committee for more than 20 years. That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal rationale for deploying National Guard troops becomes grounds for a personal attack. I think it's a legitimate question. It's my responsibility. She refuses to answer as to whether she had any conversation with the White House about deploying national troops to my state. That's an indication, I'm afraid, where we are politically in this place.
Senator Dick Durbin asked what you'd think is a pretty simple question. Were you consulted by the White House before deploying National Guard troops into U.S. cities? But instead of answering, Attorney General Pam Bondi put on her best mystery act. I'm not going to discuss any internal conversations. Translation: I plead the fifth, again. Durbin tried again, asking if she at least talked to the White House, same wall. Then he brought up the National Guard being transferred from Texas to Illinois, hoping for logic. Instead, he got attitude. Bondi fired back. You voted to shut down the government. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. Now that's not exactly Attorney General speak. That's campaign rally material with a side of snark. The exchange left many wondering, is Bondi serving the law or serving the boss? Because the way she dodged those questions, you'd think she was auditioning for The Apprentice, D.C. edition. And let's be real, this is why checks and balances exist. The Attorney General is supposed to serve the people, not pledge allegiance to the Oval Office. But these days, loyalty seems to come before law. And if Bondi were ever held in contempt, well, we all know how that ends. Cue the presidential pardon and MAGA applause. So, what we just witnessed wasn't oversight, it was overreach. And when government accountability turns into political theater, democracy's the one getting booed off stage. And that is the cold truth on Code Blue in America. Only on OGM News. I'm Mama T. See you next time.